The Transfiguration movement. 5. The power of purpose, providence, and transformation. By Mikhail Korbanyahu. When I look back to the year 2016, I realized that it was the year that the Most High reaped and sowed something deep from within me. As a writer, poetry was more my niche, but that year my voice matured, as did my content and perspective. I had gotten to a point where I wasn't challenged or excited about writing poetry like I was prior. And as a writer, I was not one to let my voice just fade out like white noise. I needed a new challenge, a new voice, a new perspective, a new vision. As time would have it, that would come in 2016, which was one of my most prolific seasons of writing, a time when the waters of inspiration were unleashed with such clarity and conviction that I knew it wasn't coming from me alone. That was the year I returned from my second soul awakening journey to Israel. And while I did write some pretty profound lyrical content and drop 4 incredible tracks with my sister Nakia while I was in Israel, the day before I departed to arrive back in the States, the seed got planted. I remember vividly being summoned by the elders. Those who saw the light in me spoke into my life in order to midwife the birth of my new voice. Sitting at their feet, humbly receiving their words, they charged me with an assignment: create an outlet for our people, design a platform where the voice of our community could be heard unapologetically and prophetically. That charge became the seed of the Hebrew Vision News blog, a space created for truth-telling, historical reorientation, and cultural healing. As of this day, the blog, though inactive, has over 1.3 million views since its inception in 2016, a feat that few blogs are able to accomplish. As time would have it, at that moment, at the feet of my elders, didn't just change my world, it redefined my inner world. Many of the articles that poured from my fingers to the keyboard in that season became foundational for 2 of my cornerstone works, The Kingdom Within and The Pattern of Adam Revealed. Those writings that poured out of me were more than mere reflections. They were revelations. In hindsight, I now see that I wasn't just writing. I was being transfigured by the very truth I was called to release. And that creativity is a major part of my purpose. Purpose and providence, Tachlit and Hashgachah. In Hebrew, the word for purpose is Tachlit, a word that means end, aim, goal, or completion. It carries the weight of finality and the clarity of intentional design. Tachlit implies that you were not made to drift aimlessly, but to reach a destination that was determined in the mind of the Creator. The corresponding force that steers the purpose is providence, Hashgachah. This is the divine sovereign oversight. It is the invisible hand that places you in the right place with the right people at the right time, if you're aligned. Hashgachah ensures that your purpose isn't left to chance, but is guided by the architect of time itself. Together, Tachlit and Hashgachah become the dual energies that power transfiguration. They are the sacred technology behind sublimation, the raising of our baser selves into their highest, holiest expression. They represent the soul's exodus from Egypt and ascent towards Sinai. They are how dust becomes breath and how the image becomes likeness. And still there is more. An echo of brilliance resonates from the past. Words that shatter the silence of stagnation and complacency with sheer simplicity. If I am not for myself, who will be for me? And if I am only for myself, what am I? And if not now, when? Rabbi Hillel, Pirkei Avot 114. There is a fire buried within these ancient words, a holy provocation that calls the soul out of dormancy and into its divine assignment. Providence is the sacred supervision of Elohim that ordains where, when, and how we awaken to who we are. Purpose is the internal compass that aligns our gift and callings with that providence. Transformation is the result of yielding to that alignment in thought, word, and deed. I had a conversation with one of my Akeem recently about the role of the shifting paradigms blog and if it was just for me or a platform for others. I responded and let him know that the full scope of shifting paradigms, which was birthed from the Hebrew Vision blog, was always meant to be a platform for our collective voices and visions. With the intent of providing testimonies and witnesses to the magnificence and majesty of El Elyon, I now fully understand that it was my response to Providence for creating such an outlet as this. As I was charged by my elders after returning from the land of promise to build a platform for our people's voice, an assignment that became the soil for many of my writings and a deeper search for our collective Tachlit, I experienced a sense of fulfillment and contentment. It was in that moment that Hillel's words became more than a quote. They became a divine mandate, a call to personal responsibility, communal purpose, and urgent action. It was with this wind setting our sail. It is with this wind setting our sail that we must know who we are, if I am not for myself. We must serve beyond ourselves. What am I? And we must act now, if not now, when Providence places us, purpose defines us, and transformation refines us. This is the transfiguration we are called to undergo, to become vessels through which the world witnesses the light of Elohim. Purpose, the hidden superpower. To purposefully continue the legacy of promise, one thing that I tell my four cubs all the time is that once you find your purpose, you discover your superpower. That's because purpose is more than just a good idea. It's a divine identity encoded in the blueprint of your being when the spermatozoa that forms you fertilize your mother's ovum. And when you discover it, I mean, really discover it, there's no force in this world that can stop you from fulfilling your destiny. Not oppression, not setbacks, no, not even yourself or even your past. Because purpose isn't something you invent, it's something you remember and consistently fulfill. And when you remember it, you realign with the truth that's been calling your name since before you were born, like Moshe before the burning bush, like Yirmiyahu before the womb, like Messiah before the world's foundation. Selah. Hadassah's purpose, a hidden vessel of national redemption. Purpose, however, does not always introduce itself with trumpet blasts or angelic choirs. Sometimes it hides behind veils of circumstance, layers of oppression, and names that are not our own. Such was the case for Hadassah, who was given the Persian name Esther, which literally means hidden. Her Hebrew name Hadassah, derived from the myrtle tree, speaks to righteousness and resurrection. In this light, it becomes clear to see that she was hidden in plain sight, but not for providence. The context of her rise was rather complex. The children of Israel were living in exile, scattered and vulnerable under Persian rule. Orphaned and raised by her cousin Mordecai, Hadassah was taken into the harem of King Ahasuerus, or Xerxes I, during a kingdom-wide beauty search. Though she initially concealed her Hebrew identity, her soul carried the covenant of her people. Her elevation to queen was not a coincidence. It was a divine setup, a manifestation of Hashgachah, pratit, divine providence at the personal level. When the genocidal decree of Haman the Agagite threatened the annihilation of all Israelites in the empire, Mordecai's words pierced the veil of comfort and shook her into purpose. For if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance will arise for the Jews from another place. And who knows whether you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this. Esther 4:14. It was in this moment that Esther, hidden, returned Hadassah, her righteous revelation, not just by name, but by divine alignment. She fasted, she prayed, she risked her life by approaching the king uninvited. And with wisdom and courage, she exposed Haman's plot, turned the heart of the king, and secured the salvation of her people. And so I will go to the king, which is not according to the law. And if I perish, I perish. Esther 4:16. Her decision to walk in Tachlit, purpose, was an act of emunah, faith, and gevurah, courage. because she arose to the occasion. Her role alone transformed the fate of an entire nation. The Feast of Purim was established as a celebration of reversal, of how the hidden was revealed, how mourning was turned to joy, and how destiny was fulfilled through obedience and sacrifice. That was providence. That was purpose. Hadassah's legacy in us. Every one of us has an Esther moment, a time when comfort must give way to calling, when hiding secretes righteous revelation, when fear bows to faith, when we realize that our placement, our pain, our platform were never about us alone, but about our people, our purpose, our prophetic unfolding. Hadassah's story is our story. Her courage is our call. Like her, we have been placed in our spheres of influence for such a time as this. And it is only when we submit to the divine Tachlit and trust in Hashgachah that we fulfill the transfiguration our generation needs. The national purpose, Israel's scattered condition. But what happens when a people forget their purpose? What happens when Tachlit is traded for assimilation and Hashgachah is blocked by rebellion? We see the answer every day in the mirror of our reality. Israel, our people, is scattered across the earth because we abandon our national purpose. That's written in Deuteronomy 28:64. And the Most High will scatter you among all peoples from one end of the earth to the other. This wasn't random punishment. It was a direct consequence of forsaking our Tachlit to be a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. Exodus 19:6. When we rejected that identity, we lost not only our land, but our sense of self. And in that loss, we became vulnerable to false narratives, false gods, and false movements. Now look at us. Yet and still, there is hope. There is hope because the promise of restoration remains. The remedy to our exile is not found in systems or slogans. It's found in repentance. The Hebrew word teshuvah literally means to return. Return to our source. Return to our covenant. Return to our national Tachlit. As the prophet Isaiah declares in 44:22, I have wiped out your transgressions like a cloud and your sins like mist. Return to me, for I have redeemed you. Our redemption is not behind us. It is ahead of us, but it requires transformation. It demands transfiguration. The soul's return from fragmentation to fulfillment. Transfiguration is not simply an individual journey. It's a national rebirth. It is the soul of a people waking up from the slumber of centuries. And that awakening only happens when we each take responsibility for the one life we've been given and submitted to divine Tachlit. This is why Messiah's message was not just about heaven. It was about the kingdom on earth as it is in heaven. For it is the kingdom that is the context in which purpose finds meaning and identity finds expression. It is the providential plan of the king. As Isaiah continues to prophesy to Israel, he declares in chapter 33 and verse 22, for the Most High is our judge, the Most High is our lawgiver, the Most High is our king. He will save us. A call to transfiguration. So I call you, brother, sister, elder, youth, don't waste your breath chasing shadows. Return to your purpose. Reclaim your inheritance. Rediscover the Tachlit for which your soul was shaped in the Hashgachah that has been waiting for you, yes, for your yes. Hashgachah reminds us that there is no such thing as coincidence, that nothing in our lives is accidental. Every twist in our story is a piece of the redemptive puzzle pointing us back to the source. And Tachlit grounds us in the knowing that we were not born without aim. Our existence has a heavenly destination. These two, providence and purpose, are the twin pillars that uphold the soul's journey of transformation. And when all the philosophies fade, when all the trends pass, when every illusion crumbles, The ancient wisdom still speaks with clarity that cuts through the noise. As King Solomon succinctly stated, the fullness of all perspectives. Let us hear the conclusion of the matter. Fear Elohim and keep his commandments. For this is the whole duty of man. Ecclesiastes 12:13. This is our Tachlit. This is the call of Hashgachah. This is the path of transfiguration. Now let us rise and let us be transformed. Selah.